Hello, I am back. Welcome to Savvy Goes Solo. I'm here today with something a bit different than what we were working on with the Covetous Poet. I know that I am supposed to actually play through that scenario. However, as one does, I got sucked into something else. So here I am with kind of a mashup situation here of the Call of Cthulhu Solo Investigator Guide I kind of stumbled upon, and I wanted to give it a go. And as you can see, I started over here, and then I thought, well, maybe somebody would want to see how this works. I am using this in conjunction with my Cortex Prime Cthulhu hack that I have created for my group, and I kind of wanted to use it with the investigative guide in order to play out the mechanics a little bit, see how they work. So if you see me stopping to roll dice, for example, plot points, this pool, dice pool, these aren't actually in the Solo Investigator's Guide. It is this guy right here that I have created. This is what a Cortex Prime game looks like. This is a character sheet. It's a dice pool game, and it's got a few moving parts, but overall, I think it's fairly simple. I have kind of, just pulled in several different mods for it and adjusted some things to try to make sure that it feels like Call of Cthulhu without actually being the game Call of Cthulhu. And yeah, I plan on using this with my group to run Masks of Nyarlathotep. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I will go over this another time in a different video, just because from what I've read, there aren't too many, like, there aren't really any Call of Cthulhu hacks that are complete for Cortex Prime, and I've made one that I'll be playtesting by myself and with a group. Anyways, we'll get into that another time. So what I have here, I'm just going to jump right into it. If you're wondering what I'm using here, this is Obsidian. This is the canvas mode that I really enjoy working with because it mashes everything together. It's great, and you can edit everything in here. Anyway, so yeah, we got started. We generated a scenario. Basically, my character, Dr. Geraldine, I generated this photo of her with Stable Diffusion and just threw a name on her. She's a doctor, but not a doctor. She is, she is a, let me see. Oh, she's an astronomer. She is a scholar, an astronomer. Her drive is that she wants to see it all. Her specialties are mythology, star navigation. There's probably a better term for that. Let me see. Celestial navigation sounds better than star navigation. And then her other specialty is grit. Got grit, don't quit. So, yeah. She should have a signature asset as well. And in Cortex Prime, a signature asset is a just a thing that the character has that adds narrative flavor and also mechanical help to roles. And it's something that should be special to your character. I think, let me think about this real quick. Okay, yeah. I looked up some stuff, and for the sake of time, I just went ahead and gave her a telescope. So, yeah, she has a telescope. Makes sense. So, she has traveled into the jungle to find, she received an urgent letter from her dear friend, Dr. Edward Vance, who was able to open another dimension or figure out something about another dimension. And he wanted her to come ASAP so that he could demonstrate and then they would go from there. We got to the remote research station within the jungle where he said he was, and he wasn't there, which is unlike him. And then we went back to town and we find his face on the local newspaper and find out that he is missing. So the first thing I do, and as you can see, this is a journaling type game, and you're supposed to mark time. So we have the QA dice roller, which is exactly what it sounds like. You ask a yes or no question, and you choose the likelihood, and then you roll. And I've got it all built in here that I rolled likely, and I received a maybe. You can roll again, see what you get. Maybe, yeah. So, and maybe in this game means that it's basically a yes but answer. So, do I find someone to talk to? Maybe. So, I'm thinking that I find someone, but the people here are afraid of talking about the fact that he's gone missing. He's a pretty high profile guy, I'd imagine. And yeah. So, in order to get somebody to talk to me, maybe I have to pay them something. So, yes, that's what we're going to do. And then I am going to roll my dice and see if I am successful in getting any information out of whoever I find to talk to. Okay, so I did a bit here. I created a new NPC. Her name is Agnes Crowley. And as you can see over here, the dice don't really show up great in this preview mode. You have to actually like go into edit mode for any of it to work. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. There we go. Got. Anyways, this is not what I rolled. She is not an assassin. She is a she's a housemaid or hotel maid in this case. And I figured out that anytime I ask about Dr. Vance, people retreat from me. People are afraid to discuss him, and so I figured maybe somebody might want to, say something if I pay them. So I have run into this girl, old gal, Agnes Crowley, and she is the hotel maid. I checked in and she was still in my room. So I stopped her and I gave her some money and I showed her the picture of Dr. Vance in the newspaper and asked her about it. And even though I am pausing, that's what I'm doing is whenever I reach a point where I need to think or I need to roll or create something, I pause this video and then I write it all in and then I play the video and explain it. But for this, at least this first Cortex roll, because part of this is, you might be interested in Cortex Prime as a system. I thought I would demonstrate what's going on here. So for my Cortex roll, I have to beat the number 9 with my dice pool. 9 is, I'm using static difficulty in Cortex for people who know Cortex. Usually the GM will roll their own dice pool and take the 2 highest numbers from there. But for simplicity's sake, since I'm playing by myself, there is no GM. I like static difficulty better, and 9 is just on the cusp of challenging. So it's considered the standard difficulty. So I'm gonna go to up here, and I have my dice pool, and I just have to put my dice in here. So let's see. I am trying to convince this lady here to tell me what she knows by paying her off. So now I assemble my dice pool, and I will let you look at this so you can see what I'm looking at here. I'm going to go to I want to see it all, use that one, that's a D8. I'm going to use my confidence, which is D6, and probably my seeker, which is D8, and I feel like grit applies here. So D6. I'm looking at it, and I don't think grit is a great specialty, because the point of specialties is that they're supposed to be pretty, they have like a use case. It's not like something that you should be able to apply to everything, and I think I've gone wrong with grit here, but this is just a solo game. It doesn't matter. I'm just trying to play test my system here that I've created. So we're gonna go with that. So that's D8, D6, D8, and D6. 2D8, 2D6 is what I gotta roll, and I gotta beat a 9. So let's see, 2D8. I can't remember how exactly this works here. Yeah, no, that's not quite it. Let's see. Might actually be easier to just use, now that I'm looking at it, let's just use our dice tray here. This would be easier. 2d6, 2d8, roll. Okay, oh wow, I did not do good. And for the sake of Cortex, I do need to turn on showing, display the formula with the results. Let me just make sure that works correctly. Yes. Okay, so, oh, that would have been much better, but that's not what I rolled, so I'll delete it, and I will honor the dice. Let me get rid of this, because that's not going to work too well. Okay, so I got a 1, 2, 3, and 2. The way that Cortex works is you roll your pool, and you take the 2 highest dice and you add them together, and that is your final roll. If you roll a 1, that is called a hitch. When you roll a hitch, as you can see, I rolled a 1, 2, 3, and 2. I rolled a hitch. I get a plot point. Yay. But unfortunately, that also means that I receive a stress. So, let me see here. I've got to take a stress. Oh, and it also matters which dice I rolled that on. Oh, a D8. I have to take a D8 stress. Oh, well, it would only make sense that I'd take that stress here in confidence, because I did not succeed in getting this lady to tell me what she knows. And so, she is not going to tell me, and I take a stress in my confidence there. Okay, so the way that this is going to work, if I was just playing in my Cortex Prime, that would be it, and I would fail, but I still have a chance. So this roll over here that I did to try to bribe her, this would, if I succeeded, it would give me an advantage in the Investigator Guide outcome roll. So, and that's 1d 100 plus the mythos score. My current mythos score is 0. I baked all of these dice into here, but I'm finding it might just be simpler to do that. Outcome. Oh, and I got a 91 positive outcome despite all odds. That's good to know. Okay, but still, I feel like I should honor the dice here in Cortex too. So, we will go with something like positive but with complications. Okay, and this is where we landed. Positive but with complications isn't like that's not in the solo investigator's guide, but I like it better in order to give more meaning to the fact that I am pairing this with this dice roll system here, Cortex Prime. So if I had succeeded here, then I would have just taken the positive outcome that I rolled. But because I didn't succeed, even though I did take a stress, I want this to reflect or narratively as well. So Agnes, she gives a tip basically. She can't tell me anything about it, but she tells me she knows someone who can. And that is the end of that little entry here. And then now we get to do a thing where we do our story direction and see what's going on. I already have an idea of what I'm doing, and that's investigating what is going on with Dr. Vance. I want to find this person that she has told me I could get information from, who is an NPC that I do not yet know that I will need to go ahead and roll up. So might as well do that. This is making it all ugly over here, but whatever. So we have crone, male, frightened. Okay. He is a male crone and he is frightened. Keep that in mind. Might roll up another one again if I forget what that is. So our story direction 27 plus mythos score. By the way, the mythos score has been 0. And actually, I'm gonna change that because whenever this happened and I found out that he was missing, um, I feel like I would have found that unsettling. So we can go and I can't remember the term, but we are going to just go back in time a little bit. Add +1 to this mythos score here. And then anytime you add 1 to the mythos score, you're going to roll for sanity. And I have kind of figured out my rules. I mean, I don't know if they work well because I have not playtested this. I guess we will find out if they work well. I have my rules for insanity here. And for unsettling, there is a +2 modifier that gets added to the sanity pool roll. Now, this is where I actually get to roll dice as the GM. So, right now in my pool, I have 2d6 in here. It starts with 2d6, it can't go any less than that. And then as the players, or myself, whatever, roll hitches, aka ones, I can choose between giving the players stress or adding those dice to the sanity pool. So technically, I could have taken that D8 stress die and put it in here, but it did not seem relative to sanity, so that's why I chose to just add stress to the character instead. Anywho, we can roll. This will be a 2d6 plus 2 ignore this. This does not have anything to do with this. I am using my own personal rules here that I have scaled for the Cortex rules. In here, so 2d6 plus 2. We'll just add 2 to this. So we've got 4, 5, 6. 6 is the target. And then I need to roll for my sanity. And I've got to figure out exactly how this works. But the idea is that you just make it's called a test roll. And that's just going to be probably Scholar, which is a D8. Probably, how would she react? Probably her empathy, D10. And then I would say Guardian, D6, because she, I guess, wants to protect her friend or something like that. Oh, wow, I did great. Okay, perfect. So I do not take any sanity loss, basically, or stress. It's so weird. I know a little bit about how Call of Cthulhu works. But versus Cortex, it's like two totally apples and oranges. So I don't want to confuse anybody there. Anywho, it looks like I obviously got a 14. I think that's technically a might be a heroic success. I don't know. Anyway, I did not take any sanity loss, so there is that. That's great. Yeah. So we'll do our story direction and figure out what we're doing here. 100 plus mythos score, that's 101. I mean, that's not an option. So dice roll is up here, and this is part of the Solo Investigator's Guide. There it goes. Random event 33 plus mythos, that's 34. Let's find out. There's a random event. You meet someone who shares a vital piece. How fitting. Yeah, you meet someone who shares a vital piece of information regarding the quest. It couldn't have gone any better. I did not, uh, you know, make that happen. That was all random. Okay, let's go. Okay, we got our guy here, Frankie Fingers D'Angelo. If this was a serious playthrough for my players, I would totally, I mean, technically, I was in the jungle and now I am in a small town outside of the jungle, so obviously, I don't think there would be anybody named Crowley or D'Angelo. But at this point in time, I don't really care. I'm just doing this to try to get through a story and see how this all works. So, and also I'm using Google Gemini, which is an AI, in order to create these descriptions and physical descriptions for me so that I can use a little less brain power on this when I find whenever I'm GMing myself. A little help goes a long way with that kind of stuff. So we've got Frankie Fingers D'Angelo, who is an anxious thug. I set his tone as civil, specifically because he knows that Agnes sent me over, and I can only assume they're acquaintances in one way or another. I don't know how, but she knows him well enough to know that he knows things and that she can send people to him. So he trusts me enough, I'd say. So I find him in the wrong side of town, and he is extremely anxious. And since I did get that development that said that I receive helpful information, I am not going to roll to get that information. It says I get it. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what the clue is that he gives me. A clear trail where something large has been dragged away. So I immediately have an idea here. I haven't been using the QA dice roller because if you're familiar with solo roleplay, these sorts of things, the oracle, all of that, it's there for you to fall back on if you are stuck. But I feel like if you have an idea of what's happening, where things are going, or you have an interesting idea, just roll with it. No pun intended. Just keep going until you get to a stopping point, and then ask a question, and then keep going from there. So this says something large was dragged away. So immediately, I know exactly what this guy's going to tell me. He is going to tell me that there's evidence that uh, that Dr. Edward Vance has either been killed or was kidnapped and taken from his research site. That Frankie knows either it's himself. So this would be a good time for me to roll a Q&A because this is something I don't know. Frankie tells me that he thinks that Vance has been kidnapped or killed and his body has been taken by somebody or some group, probably a group of somebody. This is Call of Cthulhu, so it's probably a cult or something. Gotta lean into that. So, but I want to know, is this firsthand information from Frankie? And I'm going to say it's possible because we don't know much about the situation. So that's where I go in here. I say it's possible. No, this is not firsthand information. So let me record that. Okay, so we got a little chatter going on here. Um, yeah, Agnes sent me. What can you tell me? Frankie just tells me the guy's probably dead. Maybe just kidnapped, but probably dead. And this just came out of me. One of our guys found drag marks. So, and then he referred to him as Eddie. And so two truths that we now have established is that there's, for some reason, a guy from this group of thugs who was out with Vance, or at least like worked in his vicinity, and Frankie knows Vance well enough to call him Eddie and give him a nickname. So, and that's just something that I came up on my own whenever I was writing this, getting into character, and so we know those two things now, and that can push the story forward. But yeah, I'm just going to stop there for the night because it is getting late here. And we will continue this, but all in all, even though it's only been a short time, how long? It's been 30 minutes. I am liking how this solo investigator's handbook or guidebook or whatever is working so far. But I don't know, I enjoy writing. If you're really not into the writing part, you might not like it. But I do. And so we will continue this in the future. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time on Savvy Goes Solo.